Hey, I know what you're saying. I'm selling my home, but who are my buyers? Well, let's find out what the data says. Hey, Dave Edwards, Treasure Valley Dave here. And today I want to talk about what the data says, who your buyers are when it comes time for you to sell your home. Well, let's check it out. But first, I want to let you know that, hey, I'm a great real estate agent right here in the Treasure Valley. So when it comes time to buy a home, sell your home, or even relocate to the Treasure Valley, give me a call. I'd be glad to help you out with that. So let's get down into what the data says about who are your buyers. I've got a bunch of great notes here. And if you'd like a copy of my show notes, let me know. I'll be glad to send them to you. And this information, most of it comes from NAR. That's the National Association of Realtors, not Realtors, as they'll be sure to tell you. But every year they do a very deep dive into what's going on with buyers and sellers in the market and things like that. And 2023 is no different. And they've just come out with some really great information that's going to provide us a pretty keen insight. And also I've got some information from the U.S. Census Bureau. So, apparently all very reputable outfits. Let's get right into it. So, characteristics of home buyers. So let's look at this through the lens of you're a seller. You want to know who your target market audience is. And really, selling your house is like selling anything else in that, you need marketing, you need to find an audience, you need to find a pool of buyers that are ready, willing, and able to actually buy what it is that you have. The thing that's different is, you don't have thousands and millions of houses and you're putting on the shelves at Walmart or Amazon. You have your house. And you want to make sure that the marketing on this is done right to get the right amount of people exposure to the market to get the best price possible. So we want to know who your market is. Home buyers. So the first-time home buyers made up 32% of the buyers for 2023. So that's almost a third of all the buyers are first-time home buyers. So let's get into this a bit more. First-time home buyer was typically 35 years old. All righty. So and the repeat age buyer was 58. So it's like we have the first-time home buyers, probably at the young family, newer in their career, and the 58, that's your repeat buyer, is probably looking at maybe retiring, upsizing to that nice house that they deserve, or maybe downsizing because they don't need as big a house as they thought they did. More about the information on your buyers. 68% were couples and 29% were singles. Singles as in one person buying it, not two people. So that's kind of interesting. So what does that mean for you as a seller? Well, let's take into consideration this next statistic too, is that 70% of the recent buyers did not have a child under 18. So 30% of the buyers do have a child under 18. So that means that for a third of the time, being close to parks and schools might be an attractive feature, but maybe not as much as you would think. With 2/3 of the buyers not having kids that would be using maybe parks that have a lot of playground equipment and schools and things like that. So it may not be that big of a deal, but it is a feature that we want to exploit, that say, hey, you know what, we're next to a school, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, moving on, what else do we know about buyers? 16% of the home buyers were veterans. So why is this important? Well, freedom and all that, right? But from a marketing perspective, veterans, they can use a VA loan. And what's attractive about a VA loan for a vet is that they can get in with no money down sometimes. Not that they'd have to, but they can do that. Also, there are often pretty sweet financial terms that come with that. There will be some things that veterans can't pay for during the transaction process. Those are pretty typically minimal. And I'll give an example. I recently sold my home, and my buyer was a vet, and he used a VA, and he needed some help with the down payment. So I was able to raise the price of my home a little bit and then give a credit back to the veteran to use for his closing costs. So that worked out pretty nice. Not saying you can't do that on other loan packages, but 16%, that's, I don't know, it's a substantial amount. Characteristics of the homes that our buyers have purchased. 13% purchased a new home, 87% purchased a previously owned home. Now this is nationwide. I'm going to say right here in the Treasure Valley area, the numbers are probably a little different in that we don't have that many previously owned homes. And we do have builders that are building a lot right now. In fact, that's what's really keeping our inventory at the level it is, because nobody's selling their existing homes. Most buyers who purchased a new home did so to avoid problems with plumbing and electricity. That was 45% of the people that bought a new home. They didn't want issues with plumbing or electricity. So now, unless you're a builder, you're probably selling an existing home. One of the things that might attract those buyers is that maybe we have a pre-inspection done on your house, and then go ahead and fix those plumbing and electrical issues, and then use that as a marketing point. Say, hey, you know what? We've had a professional come out here, and they found nothing, or they found these things, and we've got them fixed, so you don't have to. And maybe the vendors that we use, they have a warranty or something, or we can even offer the buyer a homeowner's warranty or credit so they can buy their own. So they don't have to worry about that. So we're trying to grab those people that otherwise go with a new construction for your house, and these are a couple of ways that we can do that. Also, buyers who purchased previously owned homes were most often considering a better price at 38%. So 38% of the buyers wanted a better price. Again, in the Treasure Valley, it's a different story here. The existing homes are going for just about the same price as a brand new home. In fact, with our builders, not all builders, but a lot of our builders are offering pretty substantial incentive packages, depending on the price point of the house. Could be, actually, I saw CBH recently had it up to $45,000. But typically we're seeing, $20,000 to $25,000. So with that can often bring a new home down to the same price level as an existing home. So that's kind of interesting. So continuing on, buyers moved from 20 miles away to the house they bought. So they didn't move far. And I wanted to dig in that a little bit more because, Treasure Valley, Idaho, everybody from a blue state's coming up here. I mean, it's just like craziness. Actually, well, and I'm over here in Nampa, which is Canyon County. And I pulled up some information from the US Census. The most recent information was up through 2020. So Canyon County, get this. So population of 220,860 people. Non-movers for that year was 178,734. So we didn't have a lot of people moving. Most people were staying in that year in their home. They did not move. Movers in Canyon County that moved within Canyon County was 23,872. So by far the biggest number of people that were moving in Canyon County were already living in Canyon County. So what does that mean to you as a seller? That means that your buyer more than likely already lives here in the county. And well, let me get back to this profile over here. The next thing that NAR reports is that for buyers, 60% cited quality of neighborhood as the most important factor. So that means they already live here in Canyon County and they are looking for a quality neighborhood. Maybe the neighborhood they're in doesn't work for them anymore. And I can understand that. Maybe they need a neighborhood that has, more kids for, to grow up with their kids. Or maybe It's an older couple that wants the peace and quiet without kids. Or maybe the quality of the neighborhood might be that it's closer to shopping. And so if you're an older person that doesn't care to drive long distances, that you can just drive a short distance to whatever it is you need. So, but anyway, as a seller here in Canyon County, your most likely buyer, customer is going to be someone that's already in Canyon County. And then back to the NAR report, other than the quality of the neighborhood, the next reason at 39% they said was the affordability of homes. So getting your home affordable. So what are some things that you could do with that is like, don't go overboard on doing fix-ups and add on like an RV bay and 2 new bedrooms or something, because you may not get that money back. And that might make the house unaffordable. And that would be one of the reasons that 39% of the people are looking to move. And let's also say too that one of the things that's going to make a house affordable for buyers, maybe those 1/3 of the buyers out there that are first-time home buyers, is the sellers help with buying down an interest rate. We've seen that a lot, obviously with new construction, but we've also been seeing it with existing homes. So maybe we'll figure into the plan to come in at asking for top dollar, but willing to help the buyer get their interest rate down, which is going to help with their monthly affordability. It really does. That extra $10,000 on a house price doesn't really change the monthly figures nearly as much as buying down an interest rate. So back to the census data for Canyon County. There's a bunch of good data on here. Like I said, I'd be glad to email this to you, but where did most people who moved to Canyon County come from that weren't already living in Canyon County? Was it somewhere in California, somewhere in Washington State? The county that most people moved to Canyon County from was from Ada County, by far. So Ada County people that moved to Canyon County was 6,554. The next closest county was Owyhee County, which is on the other side of Canyon County, closer towards Oregon, at 779. So we went from 6554 Ada County, dropped way down to 779 Owyhee County. And then the next one is our first one out of state, which is Salt Lake County, Utah at 678. And then we don't see California until we get down to 304 people. And it's just, and then Arizona, Phoenix area, 276 people. So most of the people moving to Canyon County are from Ada County. So don't go all wigging out and saying, oh, those Californians are ruining Nampa and Caldwell and Canyon County, because most people moving to Canyon County are from Idaho over on the other side of the valley in Ada County. So what about Ada County? There was 465,967 population, and non-movers, people who weren't moving, was 389,580. So there's a lot of people staying still, but there's still a lot of people that are moving. So people that moved within Ada County was 43,163. So that's a lot of moving. Okay, but now let's look at where people moved to Ada County from. What other counties? Well, I guess turnabout's fair play, right? The highest number one county of people that moved to Ada County was from Canyon County, 3,357 people. So about half the number of people moved from Canyon County to Ada County that had moved from Ada County to Canyon County. The next big number from another county, this time Orange County. You guys know that, Disneyland, right? 1,192 people. So that's not that big of a number. Then the next place is from over in Pocatello area, Bannock County, 1,162. And then we start to drop down. Next one is San Diego County at 737. So yeah, the biggest, you as a seller, whether you're in Ada County or Canyon County, your buyer more than likely is going to be from the Treasure Valley. So again, that comes back to, we need to make, if it's the neighborhood, if you're living in a quality neighborhood, let's make sure we promote that. If you have a home that can be affordable for a buyer, let's make sure we promote that as well. So continuing on, buyers typically purchase their home for 100% of the asking price, with 25% purchasing for more than the asking price. So yeah, there's no lowballers, statistically speaking, coming in and beating you up on that. So, and what does this mean? Well, you know, recently I did a video, and maybe you saw it because you've subscribed to the channel, but about DOM, days on market. And there's a lot of houses that are sitting for, 6 months, and in some cases even like a year. And why is that? If most houses are getting their asking price, and we'll see here in a little bit that they're selling within 2 weeks. Well, some sellers are, for whatever reason, putting too high a price on their house, have to suffer with that. Maybe got some showings, maybe they didn't. And then eventually, if they are still motivated to sell, then they have to chase the market down. And so it's just, if you want to sell your house, let's get it priced right to begin with. That's part of marketing, is knowing what the buyers will pay. Typical home that was purchased was 1,860 square feet, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, built in 1985. And again, this is for the nationwide. Here in the Treasure Valley, I want to say our average age is probably a lot newer than 1985, because we just didn't have that many houses that were around in 1985. So most of your houses are going to be substantially newer, probably within the last 20 years, just going by my experience. So the home search process, what are the buyers going through? Well, 41% of the buyers said the very first step they took was to look at properties online. What does that mean for you as the seller? That means we need to have good pictures. We need to have a professional photographer out, maybe some drone pictures to capture a feel of the neighborhood or how your backyard's laid out, or maybe if you're next to something that's good, like a park, or maybe something that's bad, like a rail line, that we want to be upfront and honest with everything. Have you seen those pictures? I mean, you look at them and it looks like the place is the Taj Mahal or something, and then when you go out to see it and it's like the size of a phone booth, it's like, no, we need to be honest with our pictures, but we want to have nicely taken pictures. Moving on is buyers typically search for 10 weeks and looked at a median number of homes of 7. And of those, they viewed 4 homes online only. Kind of comes back to why pictures are so important. One thing that we do when we help sellers sell their homes, and maybe not on every home, depends on the circumstance, but we also do a video tour. And I'm not saying one of those video tours like you see all over the place, where it's all the pictures stitched together and then some music in the background. No. We do a video tour where we have so much experience with buyers that we like to say that we're their eyes and ears, and Eva Marine, she's their nose because she's got the super sniffer. And as we're going through houses, we're observing things, we're talking about things. Well, we do the same thing for our listing videos too. We're walking through and we're pointing out the things that might be a challenge, the things that are opportunities, and then we let that be available to the people who are online. Finding the right home was the most difficult task for buyers at 59%. You as a seller, what do we want to do? As your agent, we want to make it as easy of a process as possible for the buyer to get to know your house. All home buyers use the internet to search for a home. And the most valuable content on the websites were photos, back to that, right? And detailed information about the properties for sale. It's so annoying when you're a buyer and you're looking for information and it's not there. Now, sometimes the listing agent will put some information into the super secret notes that does not go out to the general public. But sometimes there's information there that really needs to be known. I've been helping some people look at homes in like 55 communities and trailer parks that there's a lot fee that goes with that. And more often than not, the seller's agent, they don't put that information in there. That's one of the key pieces of information that buyer needs to know. So let's make the process as easy as possible for the buyers so we get more buyers engaged. And the more people we have, law of supply and demand, we're going to get a better price because we have more buyers that want your place. So this is interesting too. 92% of recent buyers were at least somewhat satisfied with their recent home buying experience. So what does that mean for us? I'm seeing that's an opportunity there. It tells me that buyers have kind of a very low expectation of how great this process can be. So if we wow them with the listing, the pictures, and all this other stuff that we'll be talking with you about at the listing appointment, then yeah, we're just gonna blow their socks off. They're gonna be so thrilled. And what happens when we have happy buyers? We can get more exposure. We can get a higher price for your house. I'm thinking that's probably pretty good, right? How did buyers interact with the sellers and the real estate agent? Well, 89% of the buyers used a real estate agent, and 6% went directly to the previous owner. And the buyers that used an agent, they said that the reason was because they needed help finding the right house. So that's kind of what buyers agents are really good at, right? And buyers, 56% of the time, got their agent from a friend or neighbor or relative, or it's somebody they had worked with in the past, 56% of the time. So, how does that work out? So what does that mean to you if you're thinking about selling your house? It says that 56% of the buyers already have an agent that they want to work with, and buyers want to have an agent because it helps them find the right house. And so if you're selling your house by yourself, that means that there's 44% of the people out there that don't have an established agent that you might have a shot at getting to come to your place. If, so it's like, if you're going to sell the house on your own, you've just cut out 56% of the people that would be looking at a minimum, and it's probably going to be more than that. Let's get back to FSBO in a little bit. Financing their home. So the buyers, 80% of the buyers finance their home. I'm not sure about this because I've also heard some statistics recently that said that 1/3 of the home purchases were with cash only. So whatever it is, there's still, whether it's 70 or 80%, a lot of people are still financing their home. For first-time home buyers, the typical down payment was 8%, and then for repeat buyers, it was 19%. Probably often it's going to be 20 because then they can get out of having to pay the PMI, which can save them quite a bit on their monthly payment. But back to the first-time home buyers, so 8% is what their down payment was. So you as the seller, if you can come in with a few $1,000s to help with closing costs, so they can take more of their money and put towards their down payment or even buying a U-Haul to move stuff back and forth, that can really be a big thing. Does it cost you a lot? Maybe not, because maybe, again, we can raise the price up whatever amount and then give the buyers a credit to help them with their closing costs. And that could, or buy down their interest rate, which is going to have more of an impact on their budget than whatever, a couple extra $1,000 on the purchase price. Some very important strategies that we definitely want to talk about when it comes time to sell your home. So let's talk about FSBO, for sale by owners, for a little bit. I know you're selling your house, and you've seen all the videos. You could do it yourself, and absolutely you sure can. But think about this number: 7% of the recent home sales were for sale by owners. And of those 7%, 57% said that they already knew who the buyer was. So maybe it was a family member or a friend. And then also, we said earlier that 56% of the buyers out there are already working with an agent that was referred to them or they had used in the past. So that means there's 44% of the agents the buyers that aren't working, maybe committed with an agent that they could be. Maybe they've talked with one, but it wasn't someone that they had knew previously. So there's a smaller percentage of agents that are looking for your house. And then there's even a smaller number that are actually finding your house. In fact, if you don't even know who the buyer is, you may not get, well, again, back to there's only 7% of the homes are sold for sale by owner. And then you take out that 57%, the owner already knew who the buyer was. So that means that there's probably like 3% of the homes that are actually righteous for sale by owner to someone out in the general market. So that's really not a very big number. But a blind pig gets lucky once in a something or other. So FSBOs typically sell for less than the selling price of other homes. They said that nationwide again, that the median sales price of a FSBO was $310,000, while the median price of an agent-assisted home was $405,000. So it's a $95,000 difference. Again, a lot of that might come back to that the seller knew the buyer on a FSBO deal. So maybe they're giving a sweet deal to someone in the family or a friend. So how it really breaks down with that 3% of real righteous market people out there, well, think about that for a moment. If you're a buyer, why would you want to go straight to a FSBO? Probably because, well, maybe you're sophisticated and you want a screaming deal. So you're not, whatever money that you might be saving on a commission on having an agent help you is probably, the buyer, if he's sophisticated at all, already knows that, hey, you're not spending that on an agent. Let me go after some of that. Or maybe they'll say, hey, come on, let's split some of that or something like that. So anyways, there's a lot of great information there. Like I say, if you like a copy of my notes, I'd be glad to email them to you. And there's so much important stuff when it comes time to sell your house. Stuff that most people who sell their house only sell a house 2 or 3 times in their entire life. Watch a show on YouTube or something and become an expert and do it yourself. It's possible. Are you going to be leaving a lot of money on the table? That's possible too. So thanks for stopping in and learning more about selling your house. See you on the next video.
Hey, thanks for stopping in and learning more about real estate in Nampa, Idaho and the Treasure Valley. If you'd like to learn more, watch this video here next or binge on this playlist. When it comes time to sell a home, buy a home, or even relocate to the Treasure Valley, your Treasure Valley Dave team is your real estate expert by your side, helping you get home.